Welcome, everybody, to Indiana Basketball Weekly on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. The Indiana Basketball Weekly show is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. So for all your betting needs, you want to bet on the Indiana-Seton Hall game, go to MyBookie.ag. They pay out within 48 hours, which is better than almost any sports book I've ever been around. So I would really... You could go, especially you can get a 50% bonus using the TGT50 code, or you could just go to thegruelingtruth.net and basically just click on the banner. It'll take you directly to it, take care of everything you need. So if you're going to bet the Indiana-Seton Hall game, do it on mybookie.ag. I'm your host for the show, Mike Goodpaster, and right now I want to welcome in my co-host, 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, doing great, Mike. How you doing today? Hey, listen, before we get started here, you want to place a bet on how long MyBookie stays our sponsor?
Yeah, it'll be a long time the way things have gone so far. So
exactly. Yeah, one and done, baby. It's one and done. It's 30 time.
They've been with us for like 5 months. So.
Well, they haven't heard me for 5 months.
I know. That's what we're worried about. But
I know. I taught Donald Trump all about walls. So.
Well, that worked out good. There's no wall yet, I don't think, either.
Yeah,
but,
although it sounds like he saved the day for UCLA.
Did he? Did he get them out?
Yeah, they're on their way home.
Damn, when are they pulled that off?
On their way home, no less, to a hero's welcome. A lot of his heroes. Today's show will have them on tomorrow about their ordeal and how they were wronged in China. So we'll
they were wrong because when you steal shit, you should really be allowed to get away with it.
You should really be allowed to get away with it if you're a college basketball player. Lord knows.
I think maybe some descendants of Sam Gilbert had something to do with it.
Okay, that's good. All right, we got our funny out of the way. Now we get into the series of talking about IU basketball, which may not be
the dictator in China now drives a brand new car.
I'll tell you what, there might be some IU fans who wish IU basketball was in China right now.
Yeah, well, it would have worked out better than staying home. We'll start off, we'll talk about the two games. First game of the season, 90-69 loss to Indiana State. I don't think anybody saw that coming, Steve, and we talked in our previous two shows leading up to the season how the big thing was defense, not turning over the ball. They come out the first game, Brenton Scott puts up 24 points, the Sycamores hit 17 threes, and Indiana State shoots 65.4% from the three-point line. So far the defense doesn't look like it's any better than last year, maybe worse.
Well, a couple things here. First off, I think we talked about the fact that a game like Indiana State IU is an emotional basketball game, so emotions play into it, and that leads into the next point. It does require talent and team unity to win basketball games. And thirdly, it takes listening to your coach and transferring what you do in practice all summer to what you do on the court. I believe that IU got out-emotioned in that game. As generally is the case, Indiana State came out and dictated the fact that game meant more to them than it meant to Indiana at the time. So I think they won the emotion check box. In terms of the talent portion of it, I think that the skill sets were pretty equal, although I think this is probably a better Indiana State team than we've seen in a long time out of that program. And I think in their conference, they're going to be, a team that's going to have to be played every day. And let's see, Knight always said things like this, games like that. Let's see what Indiana State does with its next game. Was this a one-time shot for that team? Because
I think they play Auburn next week too at some point.
Pardon?
I think they play Auburn this week also, which will maybe give us, not that Auburn's a great team, but they're an SEC team.
See, I like that philosophy, though. I like that philosophy a lot better than what Indiana's doing right now, in the sense that, they've had a controlled scrimmage against Illinois, which is still maybe a weaker Big Ten team, but it's still a Big Ten team. They've played Purdue, they've played Indiana, and now they're going to play Auburn. All are D1 physical programs. I mean, they're going to prepare them for their conference. I still to this day have never seen how playing Howard or Indiana U of I or Marion is going to prepare Indiana for playing in the Big Ten.
Yeah, but you got games like Seton Hall, Duke, Louisville, Notre Dame coming up. So I think the other games are maybe games where it's kind of like a practice, if you know what I'm saying. You may be able to get some guys that are the 10th guy on the bench and get him a little bit of playing time.
Mike, playing teams like that is like going on the golf course and playing in a scramble. If you are a 10 to 12 handicap golfer, you do not want to play scrambles if you're going to waste 4 hours on a golf course.
Yeah.
You want to play your own ball, go post your own score, and see how you do against the best talent, the best players, or the toughest courses you can play. Okay? So that's an Indiana mentality that's been there in the entire night era. For somebody who professes to be a big night fan,
yeah, but even in the
that.
night era, you had 10 games against teams that were crap at the start. You'd have 7 or 8 top 25 teams, but you'd also have 9 or 10 games against teams like Howard.
Okay.
Hell, I remember the Indiana Hoosier Classic every year.
But we were a seasoned basketball team who used that time productively, and we're already up to the speed to where we were just refining things at that point, not trying to figure things out.
Yeah, but the schedule's also made up a few years ahead of time too, Steve.
As long as I've seen on social media how long Archie's had this program, every day I'm getting another tweet, another Instagram, another Snapchat or whatever it is about how this team is digging in every day. They're out there, and I'm seeing video and every video. Then what I see transfer on the court was not really what I wanted to see. I expect a little more unity. I go through the stats. We're still taking 1/3 of our shots are still three-pointers. That's right out of the Tom Crean playbook. What I saw in the game against Howard was just lack of an offense. I kept trying to find an offensive skill, or offensive variation, or offensive pattern, and all I was seeing was some dribble drive penetration to some degree, but automatic kick back out and then firing a three. I didn't see a lot of trying to push the ball inside, and a lot of trying to get the ball inside and develop an inside-outside game, which frees up. Finally, they started just contesting our three-pointers, which is why they kept staying in the ball game. We only shot like 34% or 35% from the three-point line, and no team relying on 1/3 of their bucket shots coming from behind the arc or shooting 33% there is going to be a factor in any tournament that's of any relevance in college basketball.
Not unless you're the Golden State Warriors, Steve.
Pardon?
Only if you're the Golden State Warriors does that work.
Yeah, and they don't shoot 33% from the three-point line either.
No, that's what I mean. They're going to drop 50. But
yeah.
All right, so that brings us to game 2. So most coaches will tell you see the most improvement on your team from game 1 to game 2. They beat Howard 86-77. They had a double-double by Justin Smith. Al Durham scored 16 points. Did you see any improvement there, or was it kind of the same thing against the worst team?
In my opinion, I saw the same thing. And what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to really look at this as a game, each game individually. I'm looking at it as a cluster of games. I see 4 relatively weak opponents, Indiana State being the best of the 4 and being a relevant basketball team, consummate to where Indiana is right now. But I'm not going to look at this and go this and this and this nitpicking on each game, because I saw pretty much the same thing every game. The team is really, in my opinion, just wasn't prepared to play at the level or play games to win ball games. I don't think they were prepared to win ball games. Quite frankly, I didn't see it. Transition up the court was not very good. Turnovers were good. We're down to 12 turnovers a game, which is almost an all-time high for us. We didn't dominate the boards against Howard. We certainly didn't dominate the boards against Indiana State, which had a very strong inside presence. And I get the fact that we're young. I get the fact that we're not as physically strong. Well, we should be as physically strong as 3 of the 4 teams we played. Indiana State being a little bit stronger than us. But I just didn't see the mental toughness there that I thought we needed to see. And I certainly didn't see much leadership on the basketball court at all. And that's something that Archie's going to have to work on real quick.
And if you don't see mental toughness, you usually don't see leadership.
Right. They're one and the same. You don't see mental toughness. Exactly right. But, there are intangibles that basketball teams can call upon that necessarily don't rely solely on talent. Everybody's seen that poster floating thing, 10 things you can do in a game that don't require talent. Hustle, play hard, be in position. We can go down the list of things. And I just didn't see a lot of that I thought where we would be at based on what efforts were put forth in the summer. Now, maybe I overread the summer. So it could just be that I did that. I
think in the end everybody did. Everybody was excited about the new coach, and I think it's just going to take a little bit of time.
I agree. No, I don't. I'm readjusting my goals right now. My original goal coming into this was say, let's make the tournament. Based on what I've seen so far, it could be down to let's get to 500. But
yeah,
again,
let's make the NIT.
Pardon?
Let's make the NIT.
Is the NIT even still in existence these days? Is it still
yeah,
in
it
play?
is, because IU lost it in the first round last year to, I think, Georgia Tech or somebody.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it did. Yeah, it shows relevance of that tournament. So
yeah, it also shows relevance that if IU can win 14 or 15 games, they'll make that tournament.
Now, having said, well, they will because they'll put people in the stands. Although it didn't look like a lot of people in the stands against Howard. I think anybody could have gone down there for an extra buck or two, sat behind the bench for a game.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, people want winners. Everybody was excited. They thought they were going to see a totally different thing when they went to watch Indiana play Indiana State. Kind of the same thing. And my question to you is, that has to be a lot because most of these guys are Tom Crean guys still.
Right, and you're looking at it from the score and the outcome of the game. I'm looking at it for the effort put into the game. Okay, we're looking at two different things here. We're looking at apples and oranges based on this conversation right now. I don't care if we lost the game as long as we were methodically playing hard, we were organized, we had leadership, we were doing the fundamental things we needed to do to be playing. I mean, I tell you, in my 40 years of knowing Coach Knight, I don't think I've ever seen him drastically upset if he felt we played a fundamentally sound basketball game and we got beat. What drove him crazy was to get beat by teams because we wouldn't play fundamentally sound basketball. So you're looking at the score of the game.
No, what I'm looking at is the effort in the game. The effort led to the score. I mean, and until you get the effort, you're not going to be able to play fundamentally sound basketball.
Well,
I mean, you got to have the effort. I mean, the effort, the intensity is where everything comes from, and without that, they're sunk.
Right. There was little effort really to focus on the fundamentals. I mean, there's task orientation and there's results orientation. Task orientation says if I block out, I'm going to win a ball game because I'm blocking out. Results orientation, I'm blocking out with a purpose. I'm blocking out to keep people off the boards, to start a fast break, to push the ball up the court, to clear, offensive guards up, to come back and get the ball. So there's blocking out for it's a task, and there's blocking out for a result. I didn't see a lot of blocking out for results. I didn't see a lot of ball movement for results. I saw a lot of ball movement up the top of the perimeter, and I didn't see a lot of block out. Even against Howard, like we only out-rebounded them by 4. So, and we turn around and we have this conversation, and Indiana beats Seton Hall Wednesday afternoon. I mean, it's the nature of college basketball. I think this team has enough talent to be a competitive basketball team. I just expected it to be a little bit more organized than what I saw in the first 4 games. That's just me as a player. Coming from a mentality of perfection was what we strove for every day in practice and in play.
All right, Steve, we're going to go ahead. We're going to take a break and listen to a commercial from our sponsor, MyBookie.ag, and we'll be back with against the Indiana Hoosiers tomorrow night.
Hey everyone, my name is Alex Golden. I am the host of the Courtroom Podcast, an NBA debate show here at The Grueling Truth. And I'm here with one simple message. If you're watching the games, it's time to start making money. The Grueling Truth has partnered with MyBookie.ag, an industry-leading sportsbook website who reminds you that where you bet is just as important as who you're betting on. And that's why The Grueling Truth urges you to check out MyBookie.ag. In addition to the usual thousands of odds, money lines, proposition bets, and futures offered on MyBookie.ag daily, they also have in-game live betting and a mobile site that makes wagering on the go easier than ever. So join now, and MyBookie.ag will give you a 50% bonus on first deposit for up to $3,000 in extra playing money. Just enter promo code TGT50. That's TGT50 to take advantage of this offer. Visit MyBookie.ag, courtesy of the Grueling Truth Network, and enjoy winning today. MyBookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, guys, we're back on the Indiana Basketball Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Of course, brought to you by MyBookie.ag. And, Steve, right now, Seton Hall on MyBookie.ag is a 10-point favorite against Indiana. What's your first take on this game?
I predicted a 15-point win against Indiana State, so I don't know that I'm, a good customer for my.
We're not asking you to predict it. We're just asking your first thoughts on the game.
I think that based on how we played in the first three games, we're in for an ass whooping. I think that Seton Hall is a very strong basketball club. They're coming out of a very strong conference. They have more time to prepare. They have a lot more people ready to prepare. They're not trying to build in a new offense or new defense or a new system. And I'm not sure we're anywhere near ready to play a basketball team like that. So
yeah, they're a senior-dominated team. Their three leading players have all scored over 1,000 points. Angel Delgado, who may be the best center in the country, Kadeem Carrington, and Desi Rodriguez. Like I said, all three seniors, all 3,000-point scorers. Last year, Seton Hall was 21-12, lost in the first round of the tournament. Their head coach was Kevin Willard. And the one thing about them is the weakness looks to be in the backcourt, where they've got Carrington playing the point now, but they've got a young guy that's a freshman named Jordan Walker that I believe will assume the point guard position. So this is a team where we're going to have problems underneath the basket in the paint, I think.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. I don't know that we have one very strong internal player at this point, as it is, to even compete against one of them, let alone three of them. So it's definitely going to be a physical game. I think this is the first nationally televised game for both teams, isn't it? It's on Fox Sports 1. So I think it's on national television. The game's being played in New York City. I believe it is, isn't it? In Brooklyn, in Gavitt Center.
Yeah, the Prudential Center. I think
it's in Brooklyn, Center. I believe, yeah. So it definitely, it's a home court game for Seton Hall for the most part. It's going to be interesting to watch this game. I believe
another thing that concerned me from watching Indiana's first two games was the fact that at the free throw line, as a team, they shot 56%, which they do that, they're going to have a hard time getting double digits wins this season.
And that's always been an enigma for me, too, is free throw shooting. I saw that. I think at one time we were like 3 for 12. At one point in the game against Howard, we were 3 for 12. Free throws, I never understood how you couldn't be a 75% free throw shooter all the time in your careers at any basketball player playing at that level.
That's just lack of practice or lack of concentration. Or not being in shape. Not being in shape will do it too.
All of the above. You're exactly right. All of the above. And again, I keep going back to what was advertised all summer long on social media was this team was going to be the most prepared and in shape team that we'd seen come out of IU in many years. And again, you're right. Shooting 4 free throws late in the game or halfway through a game is just being tired, standing here and just being too tired to get your form and your fit down. So there's every facet of the game Indiana's going to step on and improve and play better. They've got to find leadership. I mean, first off, before they do anything, they've got to find leadership on the court.
And I think that the main thing here is you're going in to play a top 20 team that should be at least a Sweet 16 team this year. You're not playing Indiana State. You're not playing Howard. You're going to their court. I think this is where you find what kind of fight this team has, even if they lose the game by 20 points.
And that's what we need to be looking for. Is what Yeah, exactly. It's a great point, Mike. What kind of fight exactly? What kind of fight is Indiana going to have? Are they going to be able to show us something other than a consistency of what we saw in the first 3 games, which was a consistency of not a lot? I'm not going to go on. I'm going to go on record saying, I'm not going to criticize this point in time. I'm just going to say I'm disappointed with where we are right now.
And I'm sure Coach Miller is too, because this is not the effort he wants either, I'm sure.
No, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's pulling his hair out right now. But I think he's smart enough coach to know you have to get the leadership. You're going to have to develop an inside game no matter what you've got to throw at him. I mean, tenacity is one of those 10 intangibles. Knight won many a championship or many a big game with no 7-foot center or no Kent Benson. or Uwe Blab in there. He did it with a lot of 6'7" guys, 6'8" guys, and just played hard basketball, tough-nosed basketball, and went against 7-footers all the time. I remember getting paired up against Patrick Ewing. And it's just another player, Joe Barry Carroll, guys like that. You just had to go figure out a way to play him and beat him. So Indiana's got to develop that kind of mentality right now. Take what talent that they have. They aren't gifted with a lot of talent this year. It is Green's team for the most part. But this is a year where Archie's probably going to have to do his hardest coaching of all in terms of making that transition without stepping into a talent-laden basketball club that's out there right now.
Yeah, because right now I think we're going to find out in the next few weeks as they play a couple of these better teams just how long a season it'll be. The other thing is this, Seton Hall, if you're on the other side and you're watching film of Indiana, I don't think you're, other than the name on the jersey, I don't think you're really taking them that seriously probably.
Well,
it'd be hard to after watching the Indiana State game.
That's where you hope your coach steps up to the plate and says, look, don't underestimate Indiana. Don't ever underestimate. That program has that name on a jersey and has that reputation for a reason. And those kids, while they're aware of that tradition and that reason. So I would not underestimate Indiana if I was their coach. I'm sure he's telling his players that, but you're right.
Well, no coach ever underestimates anybody. It's usually the 18, 19, 20-year-old kid that underestimates something.
Exactly.
But the other thing is they're a senior-dominated team, which is why I think they're going to get Indiana's best shot. And Indiana's going to get theirs.
Indiana's going to get their best shot. Sure, it's first nationally televised game. Everybody's jockeying for position in the rankings right now, whatever they're worth at this point in the season. There's all the reason in the world for Seton Hall to come out and make a strong showing. Plus, Indiana is a brand name. So if you're going to play Indiana, you're going to get a win against Indiana. It's going to mean more to the universe at the end of the day than it is with a win against Howard University. Let's just call that what it is. So,
all right, Steve.
Yeah, I think
sorry about that.
It's just going to be tough. It's going to be tough for Indiana to go out there to be an effective opponent for Seton Hall at this point in time. I just don't know what else to say. I mean, and as soon as I say everything that I said, Indiana comes out and wins the game by 8 points.
Hopefully.
They shoot 60% from the free throw line or 3-point line. And if you think about it, that's how Crean won most of his big games, was just getting hot. If you look back on the Crean era of how they won big games, it was always some player getting hot, either a Blackman or a Oladipo or a Yogi Ferrell, some player coming up and drilling 35 points and carrying the team to victory. Very rarely did you see the Crean era come through and win big games with just a total team-by-team dominance over another team. It generally was one or two players in a game that got hot.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up for today. Indiana plays Seton Hall tomorrow night. They play the South Florida Bulls Sunday night at 6. So you down for another show, maybe Friday night to recap Seton Hall, or
definitely
preview South Florida? Yeah.
I think Seton Hall's a good game to come back to and talk about, and I think if any team's going to tremendously expose weaknesses at the Big Ten level, Seton Hall's going to do that.
Because they're really similar to Big Ten basketball, to a Big Ten basketball team. The Big East style is pretty much the Big Ten style.
I think the Big East and the Big Ten are the two closest conferences rival, in terms of physicality, the conferences in college basketball. And I think this is a real good opportunity. And if I was Coach Miller right now, I'd be looking at this from a perspective of game film to look at and see where between now and the opening of the Big Ten season do we need to work to be prepared to play in the Big Ten. Because I think Seton Hall is going to give them that strongest look. And then, of course, obviously Duke. Eastern Michigan is no pushover team either. They generally, day in and day out, will put a decent team on the basketball floor. But obviously we're building toward the Duke game as being just a big national game. But Duke plays such different basketball than Seton Hall. Seton Hall plays as close to any Big Ten team as Indiana is going to face up until the Big Ten. So going into this, I think we take a good look at what our skill sets are, where our strengths and weaknesses play into the Big Ten, and what we need to work on from here on out to get into the Big Ten play, which determines whether you make the dance or not. So it does have its relevance in terms of its importance in the schedule to Indiana. other than being the first marquee game for Indiana under the Archie Miller era.
All right, Steve.
So with that
if you want, we could actually go live after the Seton Hall game. Well, I don't know if we could tomorrow night or not. I'll have to get back to you on that. But we can tweet that out to everybody if we decide to. But as of right now, the plans are Friday night, 9 o'clock on thegruelingtruth.net. We can go live on that show, too, if you want, Steve.
And there you see, sports fans, there's a decisiveness that's going to carry Indiana to the national championship this year.
You bet your ass there is.
We don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to do something.
Yeah, but see, this is the thing. Just like Indiana basketball, 2 weeks from now, we'll have this crap down pat.
Don't bother me. I'm working on it. What's your plan? Don't bother me. I'm working on it.
Yeah, we'll figure it out when it gets here. But
one way or another, we will come back from Seton Hall. And again, I just want to close out by saying, I'm believing Indiana basketball. This is not going to happen overnight. There is no way in heck that anybody should have expected Indiana to come out and be championship caliber ready 3 games into the season. My point is, I'm not worried about the scores of ball games at this point in time. I'm worried about the effort going into ball games and the fundamental soundness of a basketball team at this point in the season, given the amount of time they've had to work all summer long. I'm disappointed with that. The outcome of the scores don't matter really until the Big Ten league play starts. And then you start jockeying for positioning into the dance or into the tournament. So what I hope to just see is, even if Indiana loses by 10, loses by 15, wins by 5, I want to see a more organized ball club on the floor. I want to see them penetrating with the ball, getting the ball inside a little bit more, not relying on a three-point shot. I want to see a transition game where we're blocking out to start a fast break, to move all at court. I want to see help side defense. I want to see a stronger defensive front. We gave up 90 points to a Missouri Valley Conference team. And for a team that's going to profess itself to be a strong defensive front, I don't think we want to be doing that. So that's what I'm going to be measuring against from what I've seen so far to the Seton Hall game. Irregardless of the score of the game, are we getting better fundamentally, which will move us into the Big Ten season?
All right, Steve, tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter. And if you have any questions for the show or Steve, you can tweet him there.
Yeah, it's srisley34 on Twitter, and I will blatantly, honestly answer the question. Whatever you want to bring, you want to throw it at me, throw it at me. Trust me, I have no problem with it. That's what that thing's for, is just to answer questions. And I'll tell you honestly, remember this though, people. This isn't the Middle East. We are having fun. This is college basketball. Let's keep it above board, and let's deal with it as it is. It's college basketball. It's an entertainment venue, not life or death here. So we don't want to put any kind of discussion into that context.
All right, very good, Steve. So make sure you catch us after the Seton Hall show or Seton Hall game. We'll preview the South Florida game. You can find us at Grueling Truth on Twitter. You can follow us at thegruelingtruth.net. You can follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow us pretty much anywhere. Our shows are on every form of media, from iHeart to Google to iTunes, TuneIn. You name it, you'll find The Grueling Truth. Make sure you go to mybookie.ag, promo code TGT50, or go to our website, click the banner, it'll take you right there, and you can bet on Indiana and get 10 points. So, for Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.